So I request the host to Thiyagu also as a co-host, please. Okay, because I'm not able to unmute from my end. Please kindly make it.
Yes, sir. Okay, I will do it. I have done one Thiyagu Surya co-host and
One is Thiyagu. That's
Divya. Please carry on. Divya.
Thank you, teacher. Good morning, Manano. Am I audible? Sorry.
yes, ma'am. You are audible.
Yes. Still, your video is not seen.
Hello.
Hello. You are audible, but your video is not seen.
Teacher, am I audible?
Yes, Divya. Still, your video is not seen. You're audible.
Teacher?
Yes. Kekanle.
Divya, please stop your video. Then
Divya.
Teacher?
Yes, Divya.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. You are audible, Divya. Audible.
Teacher? Okay. Thank you, teacher.
You
Good
stop your video.
morning. Now it's clear?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, one and all. It's a moment of extreme pleasure to welcome our guest, Dr. Thiyagu, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Central University of Kerala, who is the central attraction of today's session. I'm Divya, guest lecturer in PG Department of Commerce and Management Studies of S.V.T.B College. Welcomes each one of you present today to this 10 days online faculty development program, short-term course on research methodology organized by PG Department of Commerce and Management Studies, sponsored by UGC Strike Component 1. Dr. Thiyagu holds the degrees of MSc Mathematics, MPhil Mathematics, MEd, MPhil Education, MSc Psychology, and PhD in Education Technology. He has around 16 years of teaching experience in various colleges. He has the Faculty on Education, School of Education and Training, Central University of Tamil Nadu, before joining the Central University of Kerala. His main areas of specialization are education technology, education psychology, research methodology, educational statistics, education administration, and mathematics education. By articles in national and international level journals. He has presented papers in 125 international and national conference. He has published 3 books earlier in the area of ICT in education. He has acted as the resource person for the various seminars and conferences. So on behalf of the institution, I convey my regards to Dr. Thiyagu. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and coming over for the seminar. Welcomes you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So can I present my screen, ma'am? So can I get my
Today's
presentation?
session program will focus on just. Okay, sir. Over to you, sir. You can start this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Just I'd like to share the screen. So I request all to check whether my screen is visible. If it's visible, I request all to type B in the chat box, please, because I like to go with some kind of small interaction with all of us. So I request all to give me remarks. If my screen is visible in the sense, kindly give us a view viewable in the short form of the chat box. Thank you, Minikumari ma'am. Thank you, UGC Site Components 1 BT College. Thank you all. So thank you, Divya, madam, too. Right. Before going to my topic of research design, first 5 minutes or it may take 5 to 8 minutes to give some kind of pictures about how the research is going on the current situations. So what is the exact research scenario in the current stage? What even this kind of experience you might cross in your own experience or in your scholar might be having this kind of experiences. That experience I'm sharing with you as with the use of some of the memes. Right. Suppose if you have this kind of experiences, kindly share it. This is only for the motivation purpose. I'm not criticizing the things, just to for getting some kind of attention to about my presentations. Just I like to start with small memes. So the meme is related to how the research is going on the current situations. So this is my area. The first 5 minutes I may spoken highlighted this area. And the research progress. See how the research progress going on. The first year, how the students are do the things, and the second year, the third year, in the final year. So the scenario or the research process. The first year, the students they sitting very comfortable, they could not do deeply on the research. Even the second year also they sit very lazy manner. So when they think about to submit, then only they started the work. So the year, third year and fourth year, they work hard and then they finish the research work. This is a scenario is going on the entire surrounding. And see the other means is talking about, suppose if someone's are telling that I finished my PhD within 2.5 years. So we may feel that it's like a medical miracle because nowadays for finishing the research work within a 2.5 years is not at all easy because even we have a lot of online tools. Even yesterday you may discussing about Zotaro, Mendeley, lot of research management tools, reference management tools, as well as the lot of data analysis software like SPSS, Jomovi. So once you Google it, you may find more than 50 softwares related to the quantity as well as qualitative data analysis. But even though the people are not able to finish the research work within a stipulated time, and particularly in the past 2 years, particularly in the, after the COVID, 1.5 years, nothing to be happen in the nothing will be happen as a process in the case of the PhD scholars. Particularly in my students, I have the 4 scholars. Only one student they submitted the PhD. So the all the remaining 3 students they are edge in the case of the data collection. But when the year 2020 of the March, immediately the sudden changes happened to the entire world. Therefore, they could not go for the data collection. They're waiting for more than 1.5 years for the data collection. Still, they are not able to move to the data collection because the research is experimental method. Due to the reason they are not able to move it. So therefore, automatically the extension, the PhD extension, the year is moving more than 3 years, 4 years further. These are biggest issues now. It's in the entire world is surrounding us. This kind of issues are surrounding us. And the next one, suppose if someone's taking as a wrong area, wrong research area, it look like this one only. So when someone registered a wrong research area, for example, as a researcher, I have the idea to do a research on some specific area like education technology, but my guide or someone forced me to take in different area, it not be suitable in the sense how can I finish it. So there is the biggest problem in the case of the research. Therefore, the research topic should we can even as a guide we have to get the consent from the students whether they are able to do this research area in this particular area. Then we have to assign it. Similarly, the students also can suggest the topic which they are able to do it. So from this expertise only we have to assign as a guide, or the research scholar they have to select the particular area. Otherwise, they could not be able to finish the research work. That is a bigger challenge also. And the next thing, the PhD is looking at even I cost a lot of PhD scholars how the research, even for the projects work also. What is the issue? They know how to get the PhD, how to register the PhD, as well as how to get the projects. But they could not find the way to finish the PhD work or in the projects report, how to submit. That is the biggest problem for them because the PhD is like a puzzle box. When you're writing as a proposal, we are putting all our what is the thoughts, ideas into the proposal. But once you come as an output as a research report, not look like this. Because we are not thinking while preparing the research proposal, the feasibility of the research work. We are thinking it's a broad level and we are making a proposal. But when you come for the education stage of the research, we cannot be able to finish the research work because of the feasibility method. Therefore, as a researcher, as well as a guide, before going to do any research work, kindly check the feasibility of the research work, whether it's possible to do it. Otherwise, kindly limit your research work. Don't go with a very big area as a research. Go with a specific area and then finish it. And some people think that the PhD plan or research plan will take a parallel track. We can easily to reach the destination. It's not at all correct because while doing the PhD, we have faced a lot of difficulties. Even I hope you may having a lot of difficulty you face when you're guiding the scholar, so you may face a lot of difficulties. So I thought that for doing the PhD is a very big problem previous, but now for guiding the PhD scholar is very big problem for us, right? So that is also I am facing because we cannot be expect much from the research scholar. Even some scholars are good, but even though they cannot go with the proper the speed. So due to the reasons, a lot of issues while doing the PhD and while doing the PhD or any research work which you carry, no, that time we have a lot of problems in the family side or education background side. So a lot of issues we are facing. Therefore, the PhD or any kind of research is not a normal track to reach the designations. We have faced a lot of complicated things in between while getting that particular goal, while reaching this goal. And sometimes the PhD guides, they expecting from the scholar this much of things. A single tree may give you only the single fruit one. Suppose if a mango tree, it may give you the mango only. If you're a banana tree, it may give the only banana only. But how the research supervisor can expect from the all kind of expertise in a single tree, and it's like a single scholars. So that is a problem for us. So we have to find what is this. So that's called SWOT analysis. As a researcher or as well as the research scholar, we should know what is our strength, what is our weakness. From this only we have to select the research work. From this we have to lead this next level of research work. Otherwise we may stuck a lot. And the next things, how the my guides are feeling, how the co-guide, how the external examiner is thinking, but generally how I am, see the face of the me. And now the current scenario for PhD publication, it's not at all easy. It is not at all easy. So why in the sense, because now the UGC is much focused on the UGC catalyst or Scopus or the Web of Science. Particularly in the social science research, we don't have much of the journals. For publishing a single article in the Scopus or the Web of Science, we have to depend on, we have to spend much money. So previously we are talking about quality, and parallelly the Scopus and Web of Science, they're talking about quality, but when they're talking about quality, why they asking us to the money? That is a hypothetical question also, because now the publication cost is very much high, as well as the quality also is a hypothetical things only in the case of research. And particularly for the PhD scholars, they have to submit a 2 UGC care list. I don't know about the Kerala, but in Tamil Nadu and all, they are very much focused, very much strict on this. The PhD scholar, while going for the pre-submissions, they have the 2 scopers or 2 care list. Otherwise, they could not do it. They could not be able to go for the pre-submission. That is a big problem for the research scholar. And so it is a problem for the research supervisor, because now they're expecting the promotions. For the promotions, we need to show the 7 UC care or use the Scopus or Web of Science journals. That is also because challenge for us nowadays. And see, suppose if you are applying for the publication of any journal, so how the reviews are coming. So most of the time, the reviews is coming as a negative only. Suppose if you are sending us a unpaid journal, non-paid journal, so the possibility to publish maximum 5% only. If you're sending the 100 journals only, there is a 5 journals, they may select your article, they can publish it. That I'm talking about the non-paid journal. Suppose if you're sending us a paid journal, they won't think about the quality of your article, just they can ask your money, after money, and they can publish. That is this is the way it's going on. That's why I compare with the review response from the non-paid journal. So normally the non-paid journals, they given a lot of criticism about our research work, as well as the structure of your research article. But the paid journal, nothing. So they have mind concern about the money only. And see, and generally the review, most of the, even for the non-paid journal, even the paid journals, sometimes they're sending the response as a first line is a very positive notes, like you did an excellent work, but it did not meet the scope of the journal. So most of the journal responses, it comes like this only. Sorry, we could not be accept your article, or we can decline your article because your article is not be fulfilled the scope of the our journals. Like this, they're given a very small response for us. So it may be hard to all the research scholars as well, even for the research supervisor like us. And there is the other image. This is for the Titanic. In what way the PhD is leading in the surrounding. He said he will return after clearing the PhD, but still he is waiting because nowadays for finishing the PhD is not really easy. So some students they cross 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, even though they could not know the way to finish the PhD. Even I found some of the students from our university, they are studying the 6th years now. COVID-19 spreads the human contact. And the next thing, PhD, due to the COVID, we could not be able to collect the data in a specific time. Due to the reason, it's also extending. And sometimes during the Viva's examination, we may feel to give this kind of responses. Me as a presenter, if you have any questions, please keep it yourself. I'm not a Google because sometimes the questions which is asked from the participant side, it's not be fulfilling the objectives of this particular fulfilling the particular presentation of the people. But even though the people ask sometimes general questions, that time we may feel like this. If you have any questions, please keep it yourself. I'm not on Google to give all the responses. And just I like to show the next problem with the research review. I hope yesterday you may attend the how to do a structural review or sequential reviews and all. The problem while doing a reviews of little literature, these issues we may face because in the net sources we have plenty of e-resources. If you Google it for a single variable, you can find more than 100 articles, sometimes 200 articles related to a specific area. But the which article we have to take it for our research reviews. That is a big challenge. That due to the reasons only, we have to depend on some kind of reference management tools like a Mendeley or Zotero to select the specific tool, and we can do the meta-analysis for our review of literature. So this is where the people suffer a lot. Previously, 20 years before, there is no net sources. They are always depending on the library resources. Due to the reason they don't have much confusion because they have the limited reviews only. So from this they can finish their PhD work. But nowadays we have the plenty of e-resources. Due to the reason that making a lot of confusion, which one we have to take it and which one we have to keep it for our citation, which one we have to keep it for our meta-analysis. So a lot of confusion we may arise because there plenty of sources with surrounding us. So some way the e-resource is making an issue for us also. I hear that he's doing a PhD in stress management because we already know that the PhD is also it's like the stress creating mechanism or it's a stress creating agency. But if someone's doing the PhD in the stress management, we can think because he's doing the topic on stress management with the stress he's going to do. So that is why this like a vice versa. It's not vice versa. Like what is the controversy topic, stress management. Yes, just I like to move to my presentation. So why I'm showcasing this one. So first we must should aware of it how the research is going on the current situations and why this kind of issues is there in the sense why you are not able to why the scholar is not able to finish the research work within a specific time because they're not having any proper plan to do the research work. So if they're having the broad visions or broad idea or some kind of framework how to do the PhD, how to do the research work, they can easy to finish that work within a specific time. If you don't have any kind of framework or if you don't have any kind of structural plan, we cannot lead it further about your research work. So that is the reasons we have to think about the research design because the research design is like a framework. What are things you are going to do? That framework we have to plan it. It's like a planning stage. This is like a planning. In the planning, we have to highlight what is the sample, how we are going to select the sample, what is the variable, and how we are selecting this variable, and what is this, how we are going to data collect, how we are going to do the data collection, what are the way you are going to measure this particular variables, and what are the calculations, which are the data analysis which you are going to do. This everything may come under this called research design because if you have the well structured or well planned about your research work before going to implement or before going to execute, then we have to finish our research work. For this, the research design is much important. So just I like to give you a definition of the research design. The research design is a framework. So it is like a framework. It's like a structural way. Okay, because as already knows that the research is here like a structural as well as sequential also. So we could not be violated from one step to suppose I like to go with the fifth step directly instead of going to the fourth step. It's not possible. We can go with some kind of structural way. That is why it's called a scientific method. So the scientific method, we cannot violate the sequence. We have to go with the sequence. Therefore, the research design is a framework of a research methods and technique chosen by the researcher. So this is fairly linked with the researcher thoughts, right? So what the researcher is going to do in the case of the sample, in the case of the variable, in the case of the instruments, in the case of the data analysis, everything you can make it some kind of framework. That framework is called the research design. The designs of the research topic explained. So normally the research designs having the different types. Generally, we have to classify the research design into three. One is called qualitative, other one is a quantitative design. Then the third one is called mixed method designs. So here I am giving small definition. The design of the research topic explain the type of research, particularly experimental, survey research, and correlation study or semi-experimental review, and also the subtype. It's talking about the type of research, and parallelly, for example, I'm taking the experimental method. So you are giving us the methodology as the experimental method. But in the experimental method, you have to highlight whether you are going to take as a quasi-experimental method or two experimental design, or you are going to take as a single group design. That we have to give deeply while writing the third chapter. So that is called as a research design. So it's like a well-structured framework. We have to frame it related to your methods, related to your techniques, which are going to adopt for doing your research work. That is called as a research design. And generally, we can easily to classify any research work into two approaches. One is called qualitative, other one is called quantitative. So the qualitative and quantitative research based on the data which you are going to use. Suppose if your variable you are going to measure in a quantified manner. Quantified manner means numerical based. Suppose you are able to measure the variable which you are going to measure in a quantified or a number base, then it's called quantified or quantity. So therefore, the quantitative, it consists of some kind of magnitude representation. Therefore, you are going to represent the variable in the form of quantified manner, in some kind of numerical format. That kind of data research is called as a quantitative research. In the case of qualitative, we cannot measure the variable in a quantified format or in a numerical format. For example, suppose you like to analyze the words document, pictures, images you like to check, then observation, or you like to check some of the observation way you are going to write the interpretation. So this kind of things like a quality, it's measuring only the characteristics of some specific group or characteristics of some other things. So it seems that it's measuring the purely based on the quality aspects, not in the quantity manner. Therefore, this kind of research work may come to the qualitative. So these are two classifications. Generally, we have to divide the research work. One is a quantitative based on the data. Then next is a qualitative. Once you mix the two things, it may call it mixed method research. Nowadays, most of the researcher they're taking together. So partially they're using the quantitative, partially they're using the qualitative. Some people they're using the high level of quantitatives and the low level of qualitative. Some people they're using the vice versa, high level of qualitative research and very small level of quantitative research. So like this, the blending the quantity and qualitative research, that kind of research is called as mixed research. Yes. So this is here approaches, but in the case of the research design, we have to divide the research design into three spectrums. One is a quantitative. So which are the research methods may come to the quantitative in the sense experimental research design and non-experimental method. So experimental method opposite is called non-experimental method. But sometimes we may have the question, what may be non-experimental? So don't worry, the non-experimental is nothing but it's a survey method or longitude or a cross-sectional or correlation study. That kind of studies may call as a non-experimental method. So suppose if you're not using any kind of treatment variable as an independent variable, you're not using it, then that kind of research work may called as a non-experimental. The best example is survey method, longitude method, cross, then longitude as well as this one. What is this? So one more, sorry, correlation study. These are things may come to the quantitative. In the case of qualitative, we have the different research designs: narrative research, phenomenology research, grounded theory, ethnographics, case study. So this much of qualitative research are there. And when you're going to mix the both quantitative and qualitative, they have the lot of types are there. This is like a mixed method research types. One is called convergent. The convergent means we have to blend both the quantitative qualitative, like convergence represent a plus symbol. We have to add quantitative then qualitative, or qualitative first quantitative first. So this is like convergent means q quantitative plus qualitative. So this two combination. Exploratory sequence means there is a sequence. It may start from the quantitative, then it leads to the qualitative. And exploratory means it start from the qualitative, it's end with, it's like a sequential, some kind of structure, straight line based. The first we can start with qualitative and it end with the final interpretation you have to write based on the quantitative. So you can start with qualitative and you have to do the research and do some kind of what is this analysis with the use of quantitative also. Then finally you can write the interpretation both on the both research methods. So that is called as an exploratory sequence. Then embedded. Embedded means in the quantity inside itself qualitative. We cannot be divide the quantity and qualitative separately. It may merge together. So that kind of research design is called embedded mixed method. So now I'm going to discussing which are the elements it may needed while while framing the research designs. So some of the things, some of checklists we have to check whether this much of checklist things may satisfy while framing the survey method design, while framing the qualitative research designs, as well as the mixed method research. That things I'm focusing one by one. And the next thing, I'm first focusing the quantity approach. In the quantitative approach, I already mentioned that there's two types we can classify. One is called experimental, other one is called non-experimental. But here I'm dividing to only two spectrum. One is a survey research. It's nothing but a non-experimental. And experimental method is a experimental research. So experimental means we need a treatment variable treatment. So we have the control group experimental, or sometimes we may going with only the experimental method only. We don't need a control group. So based on the research design which you are going to adopt from the experimental design, that we have to think differently, because then in the experimental method having the three, we have to divide the three. One is called quasi, two experimental design, and single experimental design, single group experimental design. So that even we are selecting the experiment design, we have to pinpoint which is your exact research design which are going to use for the experimental research designs, right? So therefore, the quantity having the two. When you look into the survey, so in the survey design, as part of the quantity, the first one I'm going to discussing about survey design. When you frame the survey design, we have some kind of elements. These elements we have to look very deeply while framing the research design. One is called population. These are the elements. So the survey design elements, one is the population and sample. While discussing about the population and sample, we have to check what is our population size and in what way you are going to represent the sample, which technique you are going to take, whether you are going to take a probability sampling or non-probability sampling, and how much sample you are going to select. So for these three answers, it may comes in the case of survey design, in the case of population research. Okay, so I hope now you get into the first element, population and sample. So this is having the population size, sampling, which sampling size, and what is the sample size determination. Everything you have to find from here. And the next thing, the instrument. So the instrument is nothing but the tool. It's another element of survey design. So when you frame the survey design, so we have to check what is your instrument name. That is called name of the survey tool or name of the tool which you are going to use, or the instruments, and what is the validity, whether your tool is satisfying the content validity or concurrent validity or construct validity or the factor validity, or it may checking only the phase validity. Then similarly, the instrument can fulfill the reliability. The reliability is nothing but the consistency. Whether the tool is consistent, whether each item is consistent to measure the same thing, that is checking about the reliability. Here, the reliability, lot of techniques are there, like parallel form or test retest or split off or K20 Richardson methods. So from this, we have to check the reliability. For while doing the validity and reliability, probably we have to do the pilot testing also. Pilot testing, its main purpose to standardize your research tool. Then only once you did the standardization, only we can move to the final data and the final data collections. Otherwise, your tool is not be standardized. Suppose if you are using the tool or you are using the instrument as already standardized, you should be highlight the reliability validity process, which they someone may already made the standardization, that scores here to be highlighted as a validity, as a reliability, what the validity process they use, as well as what is the reliability process, the technique they used. And suppose the tool is very old. Suppose you are using the tool of 2010, but now you are using the same tool for the current year 2021. We have to crack check whether the particular tool, the 2010 tools, it may be reliable in the current context. For this, we have to go with some what is the second time of reliability from our end. The first reliability process is done by the creator of this particular tool, or the standardization, and that the tool developer. But while using the older tool, we have to do the once again the reliability, because now we have to crack check whether the same tool is may apt in the current situations. For this, we have to do once again the reliability, and we can do validity also, because the 2010 the technology growth is not much high, but in the 2020 21 lot of changes may happen. Therefore, the 2010 instruments or the tool while using now, we have to crack check whether the variable can be measured with this particular item itself, that we have to ensure it. And this the next elements of the survey design is variables, because as a research we must to exactly locate what is our independent variable, what is a dependent variable, what is our controlling variable. You know the variable different types of that, like mediating variable, moderating variable, extraneous variable, and intervening variable. Lot of variable types are there. So you must be aware of it. Suppose you are using the three variables in your research study, the researcher using three variable, they have to use it to classify what is an independent variable, what is dependent variable, how we can control the independent variable treatment. So everything there should be having the clear idea about this. Then only this also framework, because the framework they have to fix it. Suppose I like to keep some kind of variable as a confounding variable or controlling variable. Then I can do the, suppose if you fix any controlling variable only, then we can go with ANCOVA. Otherwise, you cannot go with. Suppose you have the only two variable, independent, dependent, you cannot go with ANCOVA. You have any kind of third variable as a extraneous variable, as if you like to keep it controlled in through this statistic base, we can go with ANCOVA. Therefore, the variable is directly aligned with data analysis. So based on the variable which you're selecting and the variable which you're going to measure, suppose some of the variable is measuring is a qualitative base, like sex, gender. So if you go with the qualitative character, based on the qualitative character data analysis, you have to select. Suppose the data sets fulfilling the quantity, like a continuous format, like interval or ratio. Then based on the variable sets, we have to select the data analysis, like parametric or non-parametric. So therefore, the data analysis is directly aligned with the data analysis. So this is also part of the result design. So I hope now you understand the result design having a lot of elements. There's 5 elements. All the elements can align with each other, because the instruments can link with variable. The variable as well as the instruments can directly link with the data analysis. So everything's to be interlinked. You cannot be wild. For example, you cannot know what is exactly variable. You are keeping some two variable. You cannot know what is independent variable and dependent variable. Therefore, automatically may affect the instrument development, because if you are not knowing what is independent variable, dependent variable, the way of preparation question also not exactly correct. And you cannot know how to do the data analysis further, because these two things directly link with the data analysis. So you should be aware of it, this particular 4 elements while framing the research designs. You should be crystal clear in this. Then generally, all the 4, it may be aligned with the interpretation and research. This is also part of the research design. So you are going to write the interpretation based on what? In what context you are going to write, whether you are going to take write interpretation based on 0.05 level or 0.01 level, or you are going to take a type 1, sorry, what is this? One type test or two type test. Everything is related to data analysis finally, because the data analysis only we are going to check whether you are going to keep it as a one type test significance or two type test significance. From this only you are going to write interpretation. Therefore, all the 5 elements can link with each other. So this is a survey design. The survey design having this much of elements: population sample, instruments, variables, data analysis, as well as the interpretations and results. Right? This much of things would be satisfying. Similarly, what are checklists So this much important, possibly you can take a screenshot. So this is things I found it from the book of this book. Yeah, I hope my video is visible. My video. Are you able to see one book textbook in my camera? So if you find this book, what is the book title? Kindly give the title of the textbook in the chat box. What is the book title? What is the book title? Anyone kindly type in the chat box, please. You can type only short form. So the first letter, the first two letter of the book. And who is the author? Can you see the author? So this is a very good book in the case of the research design. This book is named called, I'm using the 5th edition. Even this same book is available in online. Thank you, Minakumar. It's a research design book. The author of this book is John W. Creswell and J. David Creswell. So it is available in the net sources also. If you like, I can share this book. Just you can Google it. This is a book. The 3rd version is available online, but I'm using the 5th editions. It is a very good book. It's a very colorful book also. What you have to do, go to the Google and type a research design. Just you can type a research design. Lot of ebooks it's available, research design, and type the author name, John W. Creswell. So once you type here, you are finding this textbook, and this textbook is available Amazon, Flipkart, and also. If you click and click here, you are finding this textbook. Okay, so this textbook link I am sharing here. So this is a 4th edition, but I'm using the 5th editions now. This is a 4th editions of e-books. It's available. Just I like to share this book in the chat box. Yes, I'm sharing these things in the chat box. Yes, so please kindly click this link and you can find out the textbook. So this is a textbook of the research design, and this textbook, there is a page number. You can see this page number. Otherwise, just you can see the content, the table number in the textbook, the table number of this textbook. Yeah, so this is a table number of the textbook. Table number 8.1. This is a textbook. This is the same table is available in the textbook. From this one, like I found this from there. So what is the uniqueness of this? Because we have a lot of doubts while framing the result, while making a result design. But while doing any kind of framework about the research design, that research design is satisfying this much of questions. It may fulfill this kind of questions and answers. Then only your research designs are 100% perfect. The first question. So this like a checklist. Whenever you frame any research design, kindly check whether all your research designs, your structure of your research design is may satisfying. The first question is the purpose of survey design is stated. Actually, in your research design itself, it's focusing what is the purpose of the survey design you stated, that you can highlight as a need for the study, that you have to be pinpoint there. Okay. And so what is it necessary to select, not need for study, why you're selecting for this research as a survey method? For this, you have to give you some kind of reasons, and or the reason for choosing the design mentioned. Suppose in the survey method, lot of methods are descriptive, exploratory research designs are there. Suppose you are taking as a descriptive, you have to give the reasons also in a proper manner. In your research design, you have to highlight why you are selecting is exploratory research design, why you are selecting is a descriptive research design, that you have to pinpoint as part of the research design. And is the nature of the survey. Suppose in your survey, whether it's a cross-sectional, suppose I am going to observe a single unit, single group for more than 10 years and then write the report, that's called longitude. But I'm parallelly compare with male and female or two different group, rural and urban group. So this kind of correlation study as a survey I'm doing. So therefore, you have to find whether your survey is may fulfilling the longitude or what kind of natural type it may be fulfilling. That also your research doesn't make you the answer. And is the population and the size mentioned? So generally, the problem with the researcher, they fix the population. For example, I am fixing the population as the 12th standard students. The population means not only the 12th standard students of Kerala. You must know the size of the population. So how we can find out the size of the population? You have to check with some kind of official website or some kind of official office. You can go to the DOI or the CO office. From this, we have to find. So once you know the exact population size, then only we have to select the sample representation from this. Otherwise, you cannot get the proper sampling size. And will the population be stratified? Suppose the population are able to stratify like male and female or rural urban student. Like this, you are able to keep the population some kind of stratified manner. Is it possible? That also you have to pinpoint in this. Will the population stratified? How many people will be in the sample? That is called as a sample size calculator. So we have to select the sample size based on the population size only. So do you have any idea how to find the sample size? How do you find the sample size? Any idea? Any formula which you are using for sample size determination? If no, kindly type in the chat box. Otherwise, I give you one website address. That website address give you an answer for the questions. Suppose you have the doubts, how can I fix the sample size? Lot of online tools are available. Just like to go with one online tool. If you go to the Google, you can type the term like sample size calculator. Just you can type sample size calculator. From there is the it is an online web-based tool. If you go to the sample size calculator, there's a survey monkey tool. Once you click the sample size calculator, you are finding the survey monkey page. And only the things I already mentioned that you must be aware of the population size. For example, my sample size, my population is 12th standard. So I came to know from the some of the official website, and there 2 lakh students are writing the examination of this year. 2 lakh students. I'm writing as a 2 lakhs. See, the population is 2 lakhs. I fixing is a 95% level of significance and allowing the margin error 5%. I'm allowing is a 5% margin error. So once I am allowing the 5% margin error of the confidence level of 95, my sample size is 384. It seems that I have to select the 384 sample from the Kerala from the 12th standard student. This is my sample size. Suppose I like to reduce the error up to 2%. So if I like to reduce the error of the sample, then you have to select the sample size is 2373. You have to select the 2373. And suppose I like to go with only 1% error, I like to permit. You can select the 9164 sample from the 2 lakhs of population. But similarly, I like to fix the confidence level 99%, but 1% of error. I can go with 50,000 sample size. But I like to now go with 5% of error I am allowing. If I allowing the 5% of error, then it's for 664 students, they may select. So I'm sharing this link to you. If you need, you can just explore it, the link. Like this, lot of online tools are available to find the survey sample size calculator. Please kindly check whether is you feel this tool is much good. You can type G in the chat box. It's okay in the sense you can type both. You are not feel that it's much good of this tool. You can put okay. That's enough. So kindly give your opinions. How do you feel about this online tool? It is the online tool. We can easily to find the sample size calculator. But only the things as a researcher, you must to know the population. If you know the population only, you have to select the sample size, right? So otherwise, if not find it. So thank you, Manjusha ma'am. What about others? I have a lot of people are there. Kindly give us things. What do you feel about this particular tool, the Survey Monkey tool? Suppose you don't comfortable with this, you can go back and you can find the other tools also. And they given the formula also. So this is a formula for sample size calculator. Suppose you have the doubt in what way they are finding the sample size. So this is called Z score. Z score square into p value and 1 minus p divided by e square. E is called margin error. So suppose I like to keep the 2% margin error or 5% margin error. Based on this, maybe modified. This is a sample size calculator formula which are using normally. So, but once you go, but the problem even I cross a lot of people's what they're doing, no, they are randomly selecting the sample size. So the sample size you cannot select random. Sample you can select is in random, but sample size is not random. So just they could prove that, oh, okay, we can take 1,000 sample or we can go with 200 sample. It's not at all correct. We have to go with some kind of statistical procedure. For statistical procedure, we have to find the population first. From the population only, then we can find the sampling or the numbers. Right. Just I like to move the next one. So here I'm focusing here. How many people will be in the sample? And what is the basis of the size chosen? So this is the size of the chosen is based on the three factor, the population number, then next is a confidence interval, whether you are going to keep it 95% or a 99%. And finally, you have to fix the error, marginal error. Therefore, the three factors may involved in the choosing the sample size. For this, you have to give the justification also, right? And the next thing, even I found that there is 334 sample I like to find. Then how I'm going to select the sample? That is called sampling techniques. So your research design may focusing what is the sample design you are using, whether you are going to the probability sampling or non-probability sampling. If you are going to probability sampling, whether you are going to a random, non-random sampling, random sampling or stratified or systematic or a cluster sampling, that we have to give a clear pictures in the research design. And similarly, the non-randomization also. What instrument? This is another one that I already mentioned. No, there is another element. Actually, these are the elements come to the this one. What is this? Population and the sample from this area. So the three things is focusing on the population. The first elements. Our first element is population sample. Therefore, your research designs may give the answer for this area. What is the sample size? What is it? Whether the population having stratified, you are able to divide it. And if you're able to stratify like a gender wise, rural, locality wise, then you have to select the sample based on the stratified random sampling and with some specific numbers of the sample representation. This part, the instrument. So suppose after fixing the sample, you are going for the instrument. Whether the instrument is going to measure the variable which are going to took for the your research. So who developed the instrument? Suppose the instrument you are using already standardized format is okay. Otherwise, you can develop by your own self. If you are preparing the tool by yourself, you can do the standardization. For standardization, you should be having the three important things. One is called pilot study. In the pilot study, you have to do the item analysis. After the item analysis, you can go with the reliability and validity process. So these are the three things you have to do while doing the standardization procedure, right? Then what are the content areas addressed in the survey? Whether the particular instrument it measuring the entire measurement things about the variable, that also may feel free. Then what are the procedure will be used for pilot study? Because while doing the standardization too, we had to do a pilot study. Pilot study, before going to the data collections, we are going to do some kind of pre-data analysis for standardization purpose. That is called pilot study. So this is directly linked with the instruments. And the instruments, how we are developing the instrument based on the variable which are took. Okay. And what is the timeline that suppose after finding the pilot study, how many the time limit? Okay. So for example, if you are taking as experimental, we can fix the treatment time, but it's a survey method. In the survey method, how can I collect the sample? So for example, I have the find a sample from the Kerala for the nearly 4 or 5 districts. I can divide the timeline. First 10 days for the first district, second 10 days for the second district. Like that, I have to divide it, and I can go for the data collection. So that kind of timelines you have to frame for administering the survey. And what are the variables of the study? So your research designs may give the answer for which are the variable in this, which is your independent variable, which is a dependent variable, what is the control variable, which is whether you are going to keep it as any predictor variable, everything you have to be, your research design may highlight or can give the answer for this. How does the variable cross-reference the research questions? Suppose you are fixing the variable, in what way the variable measurement may fulfill your research question hypothesis testing? For this, you should give the justification, because you are framing hypothesis or a research question in a one way, but in not at all your data collections or your variable is not fulfilling the objectives or not filling the research question. Therefore, it is that your entire research may be distract. So therefore, everything should be linked. That's why I told it's a very structural sequence is needed. So everything to be linked with each other. So your hypothesis object is related with research question. Your research questions are linked with your variables. Your variables are linked with your what is that your instruments. So everything can be linked. And after this, you are going to go with what are the data analysis you are going to do. So this is for the data analysis elements. In the data analysis, we have to check whether analysis of the returns, whether we want to check the response bias, descriptive analysis, whether I like to convert a continuous data into categorical. We cannot be converted to categorical into continuous, but we can convert to continuous to categorical variables. So that kind of transforming we have to do, and check the reliability of the skills and run the inference statistics, and how will the results are interpreted. For everything, your checklist, your result design may give the answer. So this is called result designs of the survey method. So the entire thing is talking about the designing. While designing a survey method, we have to check this much of research questions. So this kind of questions. These questions are available in the textbook. If you like, I will give the page number also. So this is a image I took from this textbook. Only it's a very good book. If possible, you can go through it. It's an image is 8.1. In the edition number 5, the page number is 160 is available. Otherwise, you can just Google it and you can find this image. Right now, I move to the quantitative research. The quantitative research, this one more is called experimental design. Experimental design. So in the experimental design, which are the elements is needed, right? So in this experiment design, I'm adding one more things other than the previous one, because the survey method, we are using this much of elements like population, instruments, variable, data analysis, interpretation, right? But here I'm adding one more variable, one more element is experimental procedure. It's much important in the case of experimental. How we are going to do the experimental procedure? When you go into the experimental procedure, how we can control the internal validity and external validity, external validity threats. That also we have to give the emphasis and the experimental designs. So therefore, the 5 elements may involve. Even there is a 6th element that is called interpretation, but I didn't add it here. There is here 5 elements along with the what is this? Along with the final one is called inference in interpretations. Along with the interpretation, there is 5 elements. Each elements are linked with each other. Once again, the same thing. So similarly, in the case of experimental method, I hope you in the afternoon have this separate section for experimental design. I like to give the experimental design the different types, but there is a topic it will be covered in the afternoon. That's why I'm skipping this experimental design. Even this particular image is available in the page, in the title of 8.2, 8.3 in the same textbook. So if you look, it should be fine. All right. And I'm just like to show the checklist of the questions in designing experimental process. While framing experimental method, your research design, your experimental research design can fulfill this much of checklist questions that you have to ensure. So the first research design, the first question is this: who are the participants in the study? That is a sample. That is called your sample. It's nothing but the population also. It's also population. Right? Who are the participants of the study? What is the participant to which the research of the participant will be generalized? In what we are going to generalize the population based on the sample that we have to give the answer. And how were the participants selected? Was randomly selections method used? Whether how the students, how the sample can be represented from the population, where it may be a randomized base. If you use a randomized base, it's called as a true experimental design. But you are not using any randomization. You are using the non-randomization, it's called a quasi-experimental design. So there is a 2 broad divisions. If you are using any randomization process while selecting the sample, then it's called true sampling. True experimental design. True means randomization is there. Suppose you are selecting the sample not using any kind of probability sampling, you're not using any way, you're not using any randomization procedure, then you can go with a quasi-experimental design. But the effect wise, or in the case of the powerness wise, which experimental method is more powerful in the sense, the true experimental design, because the true experimental designs, you are nullifying the some of the errors through the randomization. So due to the reason, some kind of external threats may be controlled. But in the case of the quasi-experimental method, lot of issues may come. Some kind of threats might be there that we have to control with statistical procedure like uncover or partial correlation also. How will the participants randomly assigned? That's also another. That's the same thing only. The partially is given. And how many participants will be the experimental group and control group? For this also, your research designs may give the answer. Therefore, this particular 5 questions directly align with the first elements of ours. That is called participants. For the participants, your dessert designs may fulfilling these 5 questions. Your dessert designs give the answer for these 5 questions. At any corner you have to give. So if you're giving us a diagonal representation, it will be good. Generally, some people, so what they're doing, no, they're giving us a research design, some kind of diagram representation also, like a flow chart type they're giving. It's also good. Otherwise, most of the people I see that they're given us the third chapter very clearly near textual manner they provided. But some kind of meaningful images should be good. So if possible, you can give that kind of meaningful image. Entire, because 100-page content, if you're describing a single image, it's easy to even the laymen can understand. No? So that we can think how we can convert the entire research design into some kind of diagram representation. And that's like a flow chart base we have to give. And what is the dependent variable or variable? This is like a variable things that me describing. So in your research design, it's talking about what is your dependent variable, what is your independent variable, and which are the way when you are going to measure, whether you are going to measure before the treatment or after the treatment, or you are going to do both. That also your experiment design may highlight. And what is the treatment condition? So what is the treatment conditions? What is the exact treatment? Suppose I'm using the treatment like flipped classroom. The treatment is a flipped classroom. The other classrooms I'm using normal lecture method. Therefore, the true treatment I'm using one is called flipped classroom method. Other one is the normal teaching method. That true treatment, we have to give the proper explanation. What is the strategy we are using to make this flipped classroom? What is the lesson plan of the your flipped classroom? What is the lesson plan for the lecture method? Everything you should be give clearly. And will variables be covariate? This is much important. This is talking about the ANCOVA covariate. So when you go with the third variable, nothing but this one. What is that? Your controlling variable. Then we can think about the covariate. Suppose if you have the covariate, you have to highlight which is your covariate in the result designs. Then how you can measure this variable? Then how you can control this variable? How you can control this covariate? That also you have to focus in. What experimental result design will be used? And what instrument will be used to measure the outcomes of the study. So these are the things it directly linked with the procedure for data collections, particularly for the variable. So your independent variable is a treatment, but the dependent variable only you are going to measure, and parallelly you are going to measure the some kind of confounding variable or controlling variable also you're going to measure here. And what are the steps and procedure? This is for the this one. What is that experimental procedure? So what is the steps we are going to proceed for random assignment of participant, collection of the demographic information, admission of the pre-test, admission of treatment, admission of the posters. So you have to give the proper steps. Some kind of diagram representation is good. Then this much important. This is also part of the experimental procedure. How we can control the potential threats of the internal validity and external validity to the experimental designs and procedure. Hopefully in the afternoon, in the experimental design, they may focus in this area together. Okay, otherwise, I can share this PPT also. This PPT having all the controlling. So how we can control the internal validity, external validity, that process also available. So this also I'm sharing if possible. Then will the pilot study of the experiment conducted? Suppose you like to standardize your dependent variable, you can conduct some kind of small experiment. And parallel, if you like to check whether your treatment is effective. If you like to do some kind of pilot study, you can go with some kind of experimental also. And this much is come under the experimental treatment. So these three. And this is talking about the data analysis. And after finishing the experiment, after collecting the pre-test post-test data, then what kind of statistical procedure you have to use it? Whether you have to go with a descriptive or inferential, or whether you can go in the inference, whether you can go with the parametric or non-parametric, everything based on normality we have to select it. So if the normality is satisfying, you can go with the parametric. If the normality is not satisfying, you can go with the non-parametric. Then finally, how will the results are interpreted? Kindly give the result designs in this. What is your level of significance or level of confidence in whether you are going to compare the p-value along with the level of 0.05, 0.01. So whether you are going to take a two-tail test or one-tail test, so everything you have to give it. Okay, that you have to clearly mention it. So this much of things you have to fulfill. Please can note this much of questions while framing your research design, the experimental process, it may be satisfying. If you're not satisfying, your research design is not much sounded. So it's some kind of issues other than the research design. Therefore, whenever you frame any research design, particularly for the quantity, because the quantity I'm discussing about two research design. One is called survey method designs. For this much of checklists are available. In the case of the experimental, this is also part of the quantity. Here also this much of checklist is needed. And just like to explain some of the things related to 1 minute. Yeah, so just I like to show what is participant variable instrument and data analysis. Just I'm going to give you a very brief note about this very fastly. Just I like to take the water later. Sorry. For this, because we are discussing about the elements and parallel we are discussing about the checklist. But I like to give some kind of explanation about participants variable instrument in a very fast manner. Due to the reasons, I'm going to the slide number 28. So this slides it's talking about the participants. Generally, we have the problem with what is called sampling and what is called error, sampling error. A lot of issues are there, but this particular slides may give the answer for this. So what is exactly population? So the populations, how we can find the population distance? From the universe only, you have to select the population. From the population, you are selecting the original sample, right? So for once you fix the population, then we have to think about this my population. See, this my population. So after fixing the population, you have to fix the sampling frame. So therefore, the sampling frame is a subset of the population. After fixing the sampling frame, you are going to select the sample in a randomized base. So therefore, the sample is a representation of the sampling frame. So therefore, what is called sample is a subset of sampling frame. It is a subset of population. The subset of population, right? Even the sample, you are going to select the responses. That is called your exact sample. You are going to with randomization or non-randomization. You are selecting is 300 sample or 400 sample. No, that is called your exact response. Therefore, generally the response is covered in the sample. The sample is come to the sampling frame. The sampling frame is come to the population. So therefore, the population. Then, if you go with the universe it may be the outer layer. So it's the universe may be outer layer. And whenever we are going for any kind of randomization or non-randomization, damn sure the sampling error may comes. What is called sampling error? This also you must be aware of it. The sampling error means while selecting the sample representations from the population, we may have knowingly or unknowingly we may make some kind of errors. So that error is may called as sampling error. Here the sampling error consists of the three errors. So the sampling error consists of the three errors. The error 1, it is called frame error, chance error, response error. There is a 3 error. The 3 error together only is called sampling error. Then here we can check what is called frame error. For example, in the population, from the population I am fixed the sample frame. While framing the sample frame, there is a chance some error may comes because I'm selecting the 12th standard entire populations of Kerala, right? That is my population. From this, I'm going to frame that I'm going to select only the urban group, say sampling frame, or I'm going to take only the northern Malabar area or only the northern district, northern Kerala. So therefore, I'm fixing the sampling frame from the population. So therefore, there is somewhat error might come to that particular error. That is called framing error. After framing error, I'm going to select from the, for example, I'm going to take only the northern Kerala. In the northern Kerala, I'm taking the Kasaragod, Kannur, then Calicut. Okay, this is, I don't know exactly what is the Malabar because I'm not much good on the Kerala geographic representation. Sorry for this. If I did any mistakes while it's presenting, kindly forgive me. I think it's come to the northern Malabar only. The chance error, after fixing the frame, you are going to select some kind of sample group. For example, I like to go from the 100. I feel that 100 sample from the Kasaragod, 100 sample from the Kannur, 100 sample from the Calicut. So for this, I'm going to select some of the regions. In the Kasaragod, I'm going to select only the Kanjangad area. So therefore, the sampling frame, I'm going to take one specific area, therefore, there is a chance, the chance error. The chance error based on there is a error between the sampling frame as well as the sample representation for chance error. Then after chance error, I'm using some kind of randomization. From the randomization, I'm selecting the 100 sample from each district. Suppose I'm taking the Kasaragod 100, Kannur 100, and the Calicut 100. If you're taking 100 and 300 samples, may be there. But I'm using a lot of randomization process. The randomization also sometimes there is the errors might comes. That error is called response error. If you're adding this error together, then error is called as a sampling error. So now I hope you understood what is the sampling error. The sampling error consists of the three errors. One is called framing error, chance error, as well as the response error. Because this you must be aware of it. Then when you have to select the proper representation of the sampling. And this is you already knows. I think there is a section also separately. That's why I'm skipping here. There is a sampling types, two sampling types broadly. One is called probability sampling, other one is called non-probability. In the probability, we have some kind of randomization. So if it is simple random, so we have to use the lottery method. We have to select the number like this, the sample represented like this. If you are systematic, we can select the sample like this. So I'm selecting the sample like systematic. For example, the 2, 5, then after 2, then 7, then after 2, there is a 9, then after 2, there is 11. Like this some kind of structure. It's called as a kth number. So we can take it as kth number. This kind of representations, things called as systematic. If you're stratified, you can go with the male 2 responses, female 2 responses, rural 10 responses, urban 10 responses. Like that, you are going to stratify based on some strata and you are taking it. If you are going to take a cluster, for example, in a specific district, for example, the Kanjangada, I like to take a sample. Instead of going with the 5 schools, I can take it in the 5 school, only 2 schools, attach all the samples. Okay, that's for cluster sampling. But for selecting this 5 out of 5 school, 2 schools, I'm using the random. But the sample, I'm taking the entire representation of this particular school. That is called cluster. Similarly, there is the other one is called and only I press the other one. Yeah. Non-probability. Non-probability means convenience. Suppose you like to take a sample from the very nearest to school of you, then it's called convenience. Okay. So very near, which is accessible, that only you can take convenience. The purpose means once you select this particular sample group only, your research may be filled, otherwise it not be filled. Suppose you are going to take in special children. So you could not be take a sample from the other than the special children. You have to take this especially for special children. Then only your fulfill the objectives may be fulfilled. Otherwise, your objectives may not be fulfilled. So therefore, your sample selection representation, it may fulfilling your research. Then it's called purpose. There is a snowball. Suppose I like to take a transient as a sample. So the problem, the good things about the snowball, we could not find the sample regularly because the transgender, the Kasaragod only 2 or 3 we can find. From the 3 members, I can connect with the Kannur transgender. So they may suggest nearly, or they may introduce nearly 5 to 10 transgender to me in the case of the Kannur. From the Kannur, I can connect with, because that particular sample group from the Kannur, they can introduce some of the transgender community from the Calicut. So like this, here the representation, the sample representation may give introduction to the other represented, other respondent. So that is called a snowball. Okay, this much non-probability. Similarly, the voluntary response, those are willing, we are getting these things. So this is compared to the non-probability. So in the case of variable, just I like to, because the variable also is part of your elements. Generally, we have the doubts of what is exactly variable. Variable means which is to be quantified. Quantity, so the quantity or condition that can change. So it's not always same. Variable means there is a chance to be vary. That measurement can be vary. That's same. Suppose the temperature is always the same. It is not variable. Normally the temperature is also variable because each times to be different. Suppose one of the things is always same. There is no changes happen. Then it may call as a constant. The constant means it is the exact value always comes like this. That's called constant value. The opposite of constant is called variable. Normally, when you're going to measure anything as part of your research work, that may be called as a variable. Here, the variable, I'm going to very fastly the definitions of the things because it's directly linked with our research designs. The independent variable, sometimes we may use the term variable as a causing variable. So the independent variable having the different names. One is called 1 minute, there is a call. Hello. Hello. So, Okay, so here in the independent variable, X is a costing variable. S may affect the process of Y. So for example, see this image. So in this image, you can use it to, there is a GIF image I'm attached here. So can you see the GIF image? So in this case, there is a two persons are there. One is a blue color, one is a black color. So now kindly give the color from these two variables, who is maybe independent variable, who is the dependent variable for this particular GIF image. So who may be independent? Who may be independent? So the blue color shirt or a black color shirt, you can type only the first letter, please. Then from this, I can give the explanation. From this GIF image, who may be independent, who may be dependent? Can you type the answer chat box very, sorry, Xavier. So please kindly, yeah, black is a independent. Oh, blue, okay, so blue and black, it comes only, both is comes the same letter, no? Sorry. So blue, actually the blue is a independent because the blue is a causing variable. Yeah, thank you. The blue, once the blue is beating the dependent variable, the Y. So there is a what is that? The causes which happen from the X side. So that the effect you are finding from the Y side. So the black shirt in this case, it's a dependent variable, because here that from this only we have to check how the independent variables are affected. Right? The independent variable we may call as a exposure variable or explanatory variable or manipulative variable. In the case of experimental method, we can use this variable as a manipulating variable. So because we can manipulate the independent variable, and see in this particular example, I'm using this example here. Here I am pouring the water, so the little water and much water. And similarly, I am putting the little fertilizer and much fertilizer. So this variable, it's independent. Because based on this input, water input as well as the amount of fertilizer only, the plant growth may influence. Therefore, the plant growth is depends on, so the plant growth. So I'm going to measure the plant growth based on the little water usage or pouring or much water pouring. So therefore, it make an impact on the dependent variable. So this is called independent variable. The independent variable is a causing variable. Now see this case. So in this case, who is the independent variable? Who is the dependent variable in this particular example? Now I'm going to discuss about dependent variable. Normally, the dependent variable means the variable that we can observe or measure, but it's an affecting variable. It is an affecting variable. So please kindly give the answer. There is a red color and a black color. Who is the independent variable? Who is the dependent variable? Actually, this is an example. Is called exactly. It is not having any kind of impact in this because it's not at all correct. In this case, kindly treated as the red color is the independent variable. But the problem, while the independent variable is going to beat the dependent variable. So normally the independent variable make having any cause in the case of the dependent variable. But now what happened? While the independent variable going to be make some impact, but the changes happen to only the case of independent variable. There is no changes, there is no effect from the dependent variable. Therefore, it is called as a spurious relationship, or this kind of variable, if you are selecting the research, is not correct because you are selecting the wrong independent variable. So here the problem with the independent variable, because the independent variable is not taking any kind of cause impact in the case of dependent variable. The problem with the research side only. So here the problem with the researchers to select the wrong independent variable. Due to the reason, there is no changes happen, there is no effect happen to the dependent variable. So if you are taking any independent variable, damn sure the independent variable make some kind of impact or some kind of influence in the dependent variable. Otherwise, the independent variable which you're taking is not at all correct. There is a problem with this because you are not selecting the proper independent variable. So this is an affecting variable. The affecting variables is called as an outcome variable, exponent variable, response variable. Now, so I'm using a different word: causing variable, independent variable. Other name is called manipulated or independent variable. The effect variable is called Y or measure variable, dependent variable. And see, yeah. Now you can see. Now we are discussing about X comma Y. X is a independent variable. Y is a dependent variable. Suppose, see, there is a variable called Z. What is the Z? What is the variable Z? Just try to keep it. What is the variable is it? See, there is a this image. Please kindly see this GIF image. So what you find from this GIF image, how many people are involved in this? So there is a 5. So for example, I'm taking a white color is in X independent variable, black is a Y dependent variable. Here both is to be affecting, but there is a person in between his common beat. No, so that is a person's called Z. So if the third persons are influenced, the third variables are influencing, then the third person or third variable having a lot of influence in this. It may affect directly X or Y, or sometimes it may helping to pause from the X to Y. So a lot of way the third variable Z may influence on the X or Y. That things only we are talking about confounding variable. So what is called confounding variable? In the case of the confounding variable, both X and Y are affected by the Z. See this particular GIF image. So here he's the X, okay, for example, X and Y. But that center person is Z. What he's doing, actually there is a fight between X and Y. So X is going to make a cause on the Y. But Z, what he is doing, he can affect both X and Y. If the variable of Z is affecting the both X and Y, then it's called as a confounder. That's called a confounder. Actually, this person, it acts as a confounder because he's making effect in the both X and Y. See this case, I'm taking some example in the research. So hours of study. So hours of study, how many hours I'm spending for study, it may affect or influence my exam score, right? This is X to Y. But the problem, I'm taking one more variable as a confounding variable, but the subject interest, because the subject interest is a variable, it affects both the hours of study. For example, I like this particular subject, so that is the interest. Due to the interest, I'm going to study more hours. Suppose I'm not what is it? I'm not interest particular subject. Therefore, the subject interest may affect the hours of study. Similarly, I'm interest about the specific subject. Therefore, I'm getting the high score. Suppose I don't have interest of this specific subject, I can automatically this variable may affect the reduce the mark also. So this kind of example is called confounding. So we have to find whether the role of the Z, whether it's a confounding or it's a mediating. So what is called mediating? This is another variable, same Z I'm using, but the way of affecting is to be different. See, the mediating variable, a part of association between X and Y through X. For example, in this case, the effect may happen from the X to Z, then Z to Y. So see the arrow mark. The previous case, the arrow mark should be different because the arrow mark from Z to X, Z to Y. But in this case, see the arrow mark which I'm using here. So the first thing is X to Z, then Z to Y. So therefore, the Z is acting as a mediator for sending the effect. So instead of sending the effect directly to X to Y, what the independent variable doing? He giving the impact to the variable of Z, and Z making the impact, the mediating impact to the Y. So therefore, the one person can act as a mediator for the X and Y. That variable is called mediating variable. So for example, hours of study. Here I'm using the practice problem. Suppose I'm spending more number of hours, but I'm working for only few questions only practice. Therefore, it may affect my score. Suppose I am studying more hours and fairly I am working for lot of practice questions. So automatically it also affect my exam scores. So therefore, there is a path X to Z, Z to Y. And similarly, the moderating variable is called moderating variable. So see this image. So he may be X, he may be a Y. So what is Z is doing? So the Z can affect the entire impact of the X to Y. So Z is like a moderating. Suppose there is a fight between the two person. The one person can act as a judge to stop this things, no? So that's called a moderator. Even for the going by seminar presentation, or some people are using act as a moderator. Like he's moderating the entire things. Like so here the example house of study. That exam score as a different variable. I'm using the same, but only the Z is varying. So what it happened, the hours of study I'm spending and exam score. Hours of study is directly proportional with exam score, right? And sometime if my tired, so suppose I'm preparing well, I'm studying well, I'm studying house of studies well, more than 10 hours, 12 hours I'm spent. But while writing the examination, I have the tiredness, or I have the health illness. So due to the health illness, what happened? Even I'm studying well, but I'm not able to present it during the examination because I'm tired, because of the time. So due to the reasons, your variables may affect. This is called as a moderating variable. So similarly, there is an intervening variable. It's like a mediating variable only. X to Z, X to Y, right? So therefore, the Z having a lot of role. If the X and Y having the only one role only, X is a causing variable, Y is a affecting variable. But while using the third variable as a Z, it having a lot of dimensions. Sometimes it may be confounding, sometimes it may be mediating, sometimes it may be moderating, sometimes it may be intervening. So a lot of differences in the case of Z. But how we can control with the use of some statistical project, we have to control it. Just I like to skip it. What is dichotomous, because it means extending. Similarly, the tools, while you're preparing the tools, that's called instrument. Okay, just I'm skipping the reliability validity. I hope there is a separate section for reliability validity. Reliability is checking the consistency, and validity checking the whether the intention you are going to measure it should be filled by the particular tool. That is called as the validity. So what your intent to measure, that it's measuring or not. That is talking about the validity. Just I like to go with this validity and reliability. A lot of types are there. If you like, I will share this PPT in the end. Okay, because this is not exactly my cup of tea of my today's presentations. So here, a lot of types are there. The case of reliability test rate test, parallel form, split alpha, interlater, and average interlater, Cronbach alpha value calculation. So when you highlighting the result, this also you have to fill. So in what way you are going to do the item analysis? That's called pilot study. In the pilot study, in what way you do the item analysis? In the item analysis, which techniques you are using, whether you use the t-test or a Cronbach alpha item analysis you did, or you did the item with item total correlation, or you are using this one, or is that normally we are using the test for the purpose we are using the item analysis called difficult index, discrete index calculation. Whether you are using this one, you have to give it briefly in the result design. And if you are using some kind of observations or some kind of checklist, so better to go with the iterator as a reliability. Okay. For the scale and all, the other things may permissible, but if you are going to measure some kind of qualitative of some kind of checklist base, you can go with the iterator observer. Similarly, the validity having the two types broadly. One is called logical validity, other one is statistic. In the statistics, it's fine. Even now some of the research now they're moving to the both logical and statistics. It's also fine. In the case of the logical, we have the face validity, we have the content validity, we have the in the case of construct, concurrent and construct validities, both it comes to the statistical. So and now the people are now moving to the factor analysis. For factor analysis for dividing the components, that is called factorial validity. This is another validity now most of the research are doing, particularly for management side. They're doing this kind of factorial analysis. This is a good things is moving on now. Yes, so this is a validity. This also I'm skipping, but just like to show. Suppose you like to measure the instrument, you like to measure the variable. In the current context, I'm not talking about the world way, because we always not what is that making some kind of novelty in the research. We are always going to world pattern of the research. Previously, we are measuring the variable into different way. One is called questionnaire, or any checklist, scorecard, schedule, rating scale, opinion, attitude scale, lot of things we are using. But the way of measuring same, like if you are going with attitude scale, we are going with a strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. But now in the current context, we have to modify the pattern, the way of asking the questions. For example, if you like to measure the quality, so your variable is measuring the quality in the sense the item scales may be very good, fairly good, neither good, not very good, not good at all. Because why I'm highlighting, whenever I'm seeing some of the research tools, they're always using the term only this one only, strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Other than they won't use any other terms. Okay. So because while measuring any variable, based on the variable, we have to select the options. If you are measuring the quality of anything, you can go with the excellent, good, for poor. Suppose you like to check the importance of the MOOC courses or something you are going to measure. Very important, fairly important, neutral, not so important, not at all important. So like this, you have to use the scale measurement. Suppose you like to measure the interest. Suppose you like to measure the interest of MOOC course or interest of online shopping. You can go with this kind of opinion, very interested, somewhat interested, not very interested. If you like to check the satisfaction of the e-commerce or e-resources, you can go with this kind of things, like very satisfied, somewhat satisfied, neither satisfied, somewhat dissatisfied, very dissatisfied. Why I'm highlighting? Because most of the time I found that the research are using only these statements only. Strongly agree, agree, neutral. So wherever, even they go with any scale, it's not an attitude. Actually, the attitude scale only, this term is much important. I strongly agree, agree. If you are going with other things like qualitative scale, importance scale, interest scale, or satisfaction scale, you can change the pattern way of asking questions. Suppose you are going to check the frequency of using online shopping or frequency of using the MOOC courses. You can go with this kind of things all of the time, very often, sometimes hardly ever, or very often, sometimes rarely, never. If you are going to measure the truthness, you can go with this kind of situation. Very true, somewhat true, not very true, not at all true. If you are going to check the attitude scale, this only we are using regularly. Strongly agree, agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. Suppose you like to check the performance of some of these things, you can go with the distinguished, excellent, particularly for even for the assignment rubric. Suppose you like to check the some of the performance, dance performance, or any performance, then you can go with this kind of category. Even we can go with some kind of portfolio also. Distinguished, excellent, commentable, adequate, poor, and all. And just I like to give some of the example. Instead of going with only the this kind of text-based opinion, normally we are going to strongly agree, disagree. No, we can go with some kind of graphical representation also. Because nowadays, the 21st century research, we should have some kind of novelty while collecting the data from the sample group, or making the instrument or somewhat unique. So you can think about the graphic rating scale instead of going with a 2-point scale, 5-point scale in the normal man. You can go with this kind of some kind of diagonal representation. And similarly, even I am moving to this particular scale only regularly, because I'm part of the education research, education technology research. I'm doing. So whenever I'm going for education technologies like MOOC awareness or the online course awareness or online examination attitude, I'm using this kind of emoji symbol as my measuring variable, measurement things. So see, suppose you like to go with the whether the MOOC courses are good or very poor, or my lecture is good or very poor. From this, we can get the emoji-based ratings. So this is a way the emoji rating scales now the pupils are moving. Even if you go to the some of the hotels, they are asking some kind of feedback through the emojis. So kindly think about to modernize our research also instead of going to the old pattern. And there is other way of measuring the thing is called ladder scale. So we can go with some kind of ladder scale. So there is an opinion. Some people they may align with the opinion of 10th level. Some people their opinions of 1st level. So there's a lot of levels might be there, their opinions. Therefore, we can go with some kind of ladder scale also. And this may another one of my favorite scale measurement. That's called rating scale. Particularly now, if you go for the Amazon or anything, they're given the rating. So now all the ratings come to the this kind of rating 5-star, 4-star only. Then why we are not using for this kind of rating process for our research? So we have to think about this also. If possible, you can use this kind of rating scale for our research development. When you go for tool construction as part of the pilot study, we had to go with the planning, item writing, pyramid draft, and pilot study, and reliability analysis and final draft. This is for the standardization procedure. When you go for any standardization procedure of your item, your tool, we can go with this much of process. Yes, so just I like to skip the item analysis because the item analysis is a very big area. Regularly, I'm taking the class for how to do item analysis, what is the Kronberg alpha value, then how we can do the t-test for conducting item analysis, then correlation. So how we can do the correlation analysis for the item analysis. That are things I'm skipping because while describing about the research design, this also main picture. This also main picture because we cannot violate the pilot study in the case of research design. You should be highlight the pilot study. There is a due to the reason I'm focusing this one. Now I like to move to the second research design because still now we are discussing about only the quantitative method in the research design focus. Now I move to the qualitative research design. So this for the qualitative as my second presentation. Just I have to show once again. Yeah. So as I already mentioned that the research design having the three things. Still now we are discussing about quantity. Now I move to the qualitative. In the qualitative, we have the narrative research, phenomenology, ground theory, ethnographic, case study. So a lot of methods are there. Just try to go very fastly. What are the methods? So one is called narrative research. Narrations involve inquiry. It's also everything's a design. It is a design of inquiry from the humanities. Right. Suppose I like to like a biography of mine. So if you like to do the research about my biography, you can come and ask me. I can present my views, like just I'm going to narrate my lifestyle, then you are going to write, you are doing some kind of analysis and then you are present. That is called inquiry from the humanities. That is called narrative research, in which the researcher studies the life of the individuals, ask one or more individuals to provide the stories about their lives. So this is called as the narrative research. So you have, this may purely is a narration based. Phenomenology, the term, it's such a philosophy oriented, but you are going to highlight only the one phenomena, two phenomena you are going to take. So it's part of the, it's coming from the philosophy and psychology point of view, in which the researcher describe the lived experiences of the individual. So it's the individuals, there's just spelling mistakes, about the phenomena and described the part by the participants, described by the participants. Particularly, I like to study the philosophical view of the Swami Vivekananda. So just I like to see the philosophical view, philosophical thoughts which is shared by the Vivekananda. I can list out as I do as a research. Let's come at the philosophical, because here we are not using any kind of quantitative. Just we are going to read his contributions from the different sources. We can take it as a primary data or secondary data. From this, we have to do some kind of analysis purely based on a qualitative analysis, and finally we are writing this report. Next, a grounded theory. It is based on the sociology. It's also part of the ethnography, but somewhat deviate from the ethnography also. It is a sociology, inquiry from sociology. So this is for, see, narratives for the humanities, phenomena is for the philosophy and psychology. Grounded theory and ethnography is related to the sociology. Inquiry from the sociology, in which the researcher derives from the general abstract theory of the process, action, interactions grounded in the views of the participants. Okay, so we have to go to the particular place and we have to observe it and we have to write and do the analysis in this. Similarly, the ethnographic is talking about a specific group of the specific culture group. We have to go and observe and we have to do the research on their behavior, language, and other settings of this specific culture group. Then it's called ethnographic. Similarly, there's a case study. Suppose I like to do a case study of some single cases. Okay, I'm taking us only the single cases of Central University of Kerala. What is the growth? In what way the development happened to Central University of Kerala? So I can take it as a qualitative, and I'm doing the analysis from the 2009 to up to now. So similarly, there is another case. Suppose I like to take some of the specific cases of Kerala. That case I can do the analysis. This is like the independent analysis of case. So you have to take any cases. The case may be individual or some kind of institutions, that up to us one. That we have to do some kind of qualitative method. This much of qualitative methods are there. But when you're going for the same thing, I'm describing as other diagram representation also. When you're doing the qualitative data collection method, we have some kind of sources needed. In what way we are going to select this source? Because I already mentioned that here the data which are going to collect, it is not a quantitative manner, it's purely qualitative. Then how we can getting the qualitative data? So for getting this qualitative data, we need some kind of sources. The first source is observation. The observation may be a participatory observation, non-participatory observation. From this, you have to collect the data, right? Suppose I like to measure the Central University of Kerala as a case study. I can, because as part of the university's faculty, I can participate regularly of all the activity, and parallelly I'm observing, I'm writing the report. Non-participatory means I can sit away from the university and I'm checking the often I'm coming and no one can know that I'm participate of this entire activities of the university. I'm sitting in the outside and I'm observing, and then I protect the doing the analysis. That's called non-participatory. Similarly, the interviews, that's a focus group design interview, one-on-one interview. From this also we can collect the sources. Suppose sometimes I like to do the research related to the Rabindranath Tagore. So therefore I can go with the document, because now he's not alive. Therefore I can see some of the documents related to the Rabindranath Tagore, like diary, the letters, and biographical of the Rabindranath Tagore. So like this, I had to go through the different documents. From this, I can write the analysis. And similarly, there is the audio, visual, digital materials. Now the technologies growth. So suppose you like to see some of the video resources. Suppose I like to do the research on the APJ Abdul Kalam, his life history as a life, it's a lifestyle. As I'm going to make it some kind of life skill research. Therefore, even his biography is there, but parallelly we have a lot of videos are available in the YouTube. That videos also I'm taking as one of the resources, and I'm doing the analysis for this. From this, I can find which are the life skill he's using while using the online, while using the platform, the public forum. That videos are available. From this, we have to find. So this is called the audio visual or digital material analysis. We have to do it. These are the sources. Similarly, there is the other one. Yeah, this is checklist. This is also table number 9.1. This is same things available, the same textbook. The table number 9.1, kindly note this, because suppose if you are very much do the qualitative research, kindly check whether your result isn't fulfilling this much of questions, or the basic statistical qualitative studies mentioned. So you have to your result isn't made focusing all the characteristics of the research qualitative studies is made measured, and is a specific type of qualitative design, whether you are using the phenomenology, or you are using the case study, or you are using the this one narrative, which one you are taking, that also give the answer in your research design. Does the reader gain understanding the research roles in the study? So whether the positive you are going to check social, suppose I'm going to do the APJ Abdul Kalam life history, but only in the case of the education side. So in what way his thought linked with the education thoughts? So that only I'm doing in the sense. So I have to pinpoint that as a researcher, I'm going to check only this particular area, the education point of view of the Vivekananda, like education contribution of the Vivekananda, or education contribution of APJ Abdul Kalam. That particular point you have to highlight. That's called reader gain understanding. This is the role of the study. In this role, what is the intention? Which things you are going to focus on? And is the purpose of sampling strategy, and in what way you are going to sampling strategy? Here, the sampling strategy means the data which are going to collect through the different sample node, like focus group design, or any interview, or any participatory observation. The sample, how we are going to select, whether it's a random or a non-random. Generally, they're using some kind of purpose sampling only, non-probability only using for the qualitative. Or the specific formal data collection mentioned or actionable, that also you have to highlight. And the process for recording information, particularly when going for the data collections, observation, or any kind of interview, how we are going to record the information. Because the survey method is very simple. You are giving one questionnaire, the respondent can fill it. But in the qualitative, it's not correct. We are going to interview one person. They're giving the answer through the voice on, through the verbal only. Then how you can record, whether you're going to record by your hand with the transcript, or you are going to record with audio, or you are going to record as a video. That also you have to give the procedure. So how, in what the protocol you are going to use while cutting the data. Then after this, these are the things talking about the participant as well as the data collections. Here it's talking about the data analysis. So after did the data collections, the data things, what are the data analysis you are going to identify? Here we are not using any kind of statistical procedure, but data analysis in the sense it's like a qualitative data analysis. Like even sometimes we can use partially the number of words regularly used by the people, and which is the common thoughts they each of the samples are providing. Like that we can do some kind of meta analysis in this. Lot of QDL. I think the QDL is a software we are using for the NVO. One or two check paper number one or two check. So all the data analysis steps identified. Is there evidence that the research has to be organized the data in analysis? Has the research reviewed the data generally to obtain the sense of information? Has the research codes of the data? After collecting the data, whether the researcher code. So we have to convert the data interview, or you're doing the different way of data collection. No? We have to coding it, because when you're doing any kind of statistical, going for any kind of online based meta-analysis or any kind of qualitative, we put some coding. From the coding only we have to run the data analysis. So for this we have to convert your data into a code. Then have the codes have been developed to form a description and identity themes, or the themes are interrelated to show the higher levels of analysis. Then are the ways the data will be presented mentioned. So suppose you like to present the data in your tables, graphs, figures, that also you are tiling. Then have the basis of the interpretation, the analysis been specified. Personal experience, the literature, questions, etc. It should be interpreting in a clear manner, and you have to specify in the result. As the researcher mentioned the outcomes of the study. So you have to mention the outcome of the study in the research result will be pinpoint. Then finally, have the multiple strategies to excite the validity of the finding. Sometimes the people are using the triangulations. So the same variable we can measure into three different groups, or what is the three-way. So like a crash checking whether your data which collected from the three representation or three different area, it may be matching. So that kind of validity also we have to do. So for this we can use a triangulation as a method in the qualitative. So this is a way we have to check the questions. These are the questions we have to check while designing the qualitative procedure. The last one is the mixed method. The mixed method, generally the mixed method, it is the third method. It's a combination of both. It is a combination of qualitative and quantitative. But while thinking about quantitative and qualitative integration, qualitative and qualitative integrations, we have the three methods. One is called convergent mixed method. The explanatory sequence. The term is sequence. Sequence means one after others. One after others. We cannot use together this one. That is called sequential. Wherever you are fixing the sequential, it's called one after others. There is a one more method. It's called embedded. Embedded means from the quantitative method inside we are using the qualitative. So like it may be embedded with inside it. So that is called embedded. That is called embedded. So here there is a mixed method research. There is a two phases of the quantitative phase, qualitative phase. If the quantitative phase is to be moved to the qualitative, so like quantitative to qualitative and qualitative to quantitative is called exploratory sequence. So explanatory sequence of design, exploratory sequence of design. So this is called the sequential. The first part they use the quantitative. Then after this, the next level they can use the qualitative. This is called explanatory. The explanatory means start with the quantitative, then it's end with the qualitative. So they can start the quantitative analysis, then finally they leads to end with qualitative. But they're using both, but some kind of sequences. The first phase I can use the qualitative. It's like a phase 1, phase 2. The phase 1 I'm using the quantitative. The phase 2 I'm using the qualitative, right? Similarly, the qualitative I'm using the phase 1. In this case of the exploratory, the term is different. This is called exploratory, explanatory. The explanatory means quantitative first, second phase qualitative. In the case of exploratory, qualitative first, quantitative second. This is called convergent. What is called convergent or concurrent? So both should be what is that? A phase 2 be like this, like plus. So we can use the things together, right? So not for phase 1, phase 2. At a time, I'm going to do the data analysis or collecting the data through both quantitative and qualitative. I'm not using the what is that separately for sorry. I'm not using the phase 1, phase 2, but I'm going while going to data collect. I can collect both quantitative and qualitative together, right? But this is called embedded, as called nested. So here the capital letter represent the quantity having the much impact. They are using nearly 80% of quantitative, only the 20% of qualitative. So the small letter represent less emphasis. The capital letter represent large emphasis. Therefore, in this method, they're not dividing the qualitative and quantitative phase separately. What they're going to do, so their intention that 80% is quantitative. In the 80%, they're using some kind of qualitative. For example, I'm doing a quantitative research. All my 4th chapter purely based on all the statistics I'm using. But while I'm going to be write as a qualitative, only for 2 or 3 sample case study I'm just listed here. So I did the 80% of the entire thing is the data analysis based, like T-test, F-test, ANOVA, and co I did. But parallelly, I like to do some kind of case study from my experimental group, 2 students. That case study report I'm keeping as a qualitative. So therefore, the 20% of qualitative or 10% of qualitative, you are merging with the quantitative research, then it's called as a nested or or it is called as embedded, right? Yes, so please kindly see this notations, because in the experimental method, this notation is much meaningful. The notation here, if you are using the uppercase letter, so suppose one day describing this kind of uppercase letter, if I use the QAN capital letter, it means that the great emphasis on the method. So for example, if I'm using the QAN, right, as a Q is a capital letter, but I'm using the Q small letter qualitative. So it means that I'm using both the method, right? I'm using the quantitative and qualitative, but I'm using much emphasis on the quantitative. I'm giving the less emphasis on the qualitative. So the uppercase letter is talking about the greater emphasis. And the lower case, suppose I'm putting the quantity qualitative like this. It seems that um, it, it is called as a lesser emphasis. So you are not giving much emphasis on this. And if you are using the term plus, this is called convergence. So therefore, there is a two combination, quantity plus qualitative. This symbol represents sequential. So the first phase we are using the qualitative, the second phase we are using the quantitative. This bracket symbol is talking about embeddedness, that is called nestedness, embeddedness. So it means that I am using the quantitative as a greater emphasis. The qualitative I'm using very small, or only for the 5 to 10 minutes I'm using the qualitative. Sorry, not minutes. So I'm using the 10% of the analysis of the qualitative. So therefore, much emphasis on the quantitative, only few part I'm using the qualitative. And the next one is a recursive. The recursive means it's both to be what is that exactly is to be affect to each other. Therefore, it may be intervening each other. Qualitative as well as quantitative may be intervening each other. That kind of things are recursive. Suppose if you like to go with phase. So in one phase, I'm using the phase one, I'm using purely and qualitative. The second phase, I'm using the both the quantitative and qualitative. So this is called as a multi-phase methods of result designs. So therefore, a lot of mixed result designs are there. Just like to show the result designs in a diagram representation. Convergent parallel mixed methods. Convergent parallel mixed methods. So now we have 10 minutes more. I can stop exactly 11:55. After that, we can have the discussion if time possible. This is the same thing. So previously I used the only the some kind of notation. No, here I'm using some kind of diagram representations here. If you are convergent method. So see, kindly give it here. So I'm using the quant and give that response in the chat box. Convergent parallel. It's called convergent method parallel mixed form. It means that both is important. Quantity as qualitative. Please kindly check whether here we can give the importance to much emphasis to quantity or qualitative. Kindly give the answer. If you are giving much importance only the qualitative, you can put QA, QU in the chat box. Sorry, QN for quantitative. If you feel that in this particular example, we have to give much emphasis on qualitative, you can put QL in the chat box. If you feel that we have to give the equal importance to the both, you can type B in the chat box, please. I can finish very 5 minutes itself. Kindly check for this method, which one you have to emphasize much, whether we can go with the quantity or qualitative. According to the symbol, any idea? So we already discussed about the things. Yeah, both, exactly both. Thank you. So exactly both. Why is we are using both? Because the qualitative, the letters are capital letter. Therefore, we can use both. We can use the emphasize both importance. We can give the preference to both, and we can check parallelly, and we can compare the relate and cite the interpretation. And this for the explanatory. So as I already mentioned that the explanatory, it starts from the quantitative and end with the qualitative. Now you can see this is for the first phase. This is my first phase. Phase one, I'm using the quantitative. The second phase, I'm using the qualitative. So now you can see what is the phase I had to use much. So which things I had to emphasize much, whether I can use the quantitative or qualitative, much emphasize. Even there is a two phases, which thing I have to focus in much, which research I have to focus. Whether it's a quantitative means you can type QN, qualitative means you can type QL. Yes, exactly, Reshma ma'am. It's a quantitative because in the first phase, the quantitative, they use the capital letter, therefore we have to use much in this. The second phase, so this is called exploratory. It starts from the qualitative, and in the second phase, we can use the quantitative. Now you can see which is we have to give the much importance, in the exploratory sequence, whether qualitative or quantitative. In this particular, the third example, what is our emphasis? Exactly, Rashma madam. It is a qualitative. Thank you. Right. So the next one, this was the embedded. This is called nested also. Now you can see here there is a method is called nested, qualitative or quantitative. So here the data collection analysis before, during, after quantitative analysis. So For example, if you are setting the qualitative, inside the qualitative, you can use the quantitative. Or if you are using the quantitative is much, inside you can use the little percent of qualitative. So that is called the embedded. This is called the multiple phase. So the multiple transaction means, transformative means we can go with convergent, exploratory, explanatory, mixed method together. Okay, you can go with this and you can try the interpretation. That is called transformative. Then last one is called multi-phase mixed method. This is having the first phase, second phase, third phase, and all. The first phase you are using this one, qualitative or quantitative. The second phase also you are using different one. The third phase. So therefore, the phases, it have a lot of phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. That's called multi-phase mixed method. You can adopt any methodology here, like embed method in the phase 1 or the convergent method in the phase 1. That's up to the researcher which one. So this is called as a mixed method. So when you're going for the mixed research, this much of questions you have to give the answer. The basic definition of mixed method research provide. So you have to give the definitions and why you're selecting this particular mix. You are going to take a convergent or you're going to take the exploratory sequential. You have to give the reasons or the reason for giving the quantity quality data that you have to give. Does the reader have the sense of potential use of mixed method? So you have to, suppose you are setting the convergent, you have to give the potential use. Okay, how we are using it, that this strategy or criteria identify the choosing mixed method result design. Is the mixed method designs identified? You are identified. Then this is for the strategy. So the visual model. Sorry. Yeah, the visual model present the illustrated research strategy are using the proper notation used. Suppose while writing as a convergent, whether you're using the plus symbol, if you're using sequence, you are using the error symbol. This kind of representation you can use clearly. If you're using the wrong notation, the meanings may be changed. So kindly use the proper notations. Our procedure of data collection analysis mentioned as the relate to the chosen design. Then sampling strategy for both. Suppose you are taking the quantity quality together, you have to give the strategy of the sampling procedure for both quantity or quality. Sometimes the quality may take only 5 case study, the quantity may take the 100. You have to give the sampling strategy or sampling techniques which you're following. Then specific data analysis procedure identified for the design, indicated by the design. Are the procedure for validating the mention for the design for the qualitative and qualitative research. Then is the narrative structure is the final dissertations. This is mentioned. That's related to the keep of mixed method. So if you are using the narrative structure, the final dissertation thesis mentioned. We have to type the mixed method design being used. So this much of questions, responses, we have to think while fixing the result design of the mixed method. Yes, now exactly 57. So I like to stop from here. Now, because as part of the demonstration, so as part of my presentations, I like to highlight, emphasize on the 3 research designs. One is a quantitative and qualitative and research designs. While preparing the research designs, which are the checklists that also I'm focusing. These are the material I found from the book resources from this book only. If possible, kindly download this book because this book is like a, what we can call it a encyclopedia, because all the research design aspect, the writing is very clearly with diagram of representation. So it's a good book. So if possible, kindly check this. Yeah. Yes. So now the platform to you. Just I check whether I skipped any of the part in the PowerPoint. Just I'm checking here. I can type the DTC. Even I shared the Geeta madam. I already shared the link of the book, ebook link. So the book author is John W. Creswell. Research design. Book name is research design. So better. I buy this book. I bought this book through the Amazon. Yeah, the 50th edition is available now. Yes. Any other questions? Yeah, so I could not be able to finish this area due to the time fact, because as part of the analysis, data analysis, we have to give the what is descriptive analysis, So the descriptive analysis, what is the center extremes and all. So just I skip it due to the time fact. The normality plot, what is the normality? These are the things I incorporate. What is ANOVA, ANCOVA, MANOVA, MANCOVA. By doing the data analysis, also you must be aware of it. That's why I'm using this one also, but I'm not able to cover it. Okay, so not an issue. The regression is for the data analysis purpose. I'm using the slides. Okay, then the platform for you. So if you have doubts, you can ask me. If you know, I will do the answer.
Dear participants, if you have any doubts, please put in chat box or unmute and ask.
So the last one, I said there is no question. Just I like to give you a small insight about the tool. I'm the fan of the Geometry tool. It is a free open source software. Those are using the SPSS or ROMOS or any other statistical software which are using for paid. I can I'm recommend to go with the Geometry because it's a free open source software. Suppose the Geometry is not be working in your laptop, you can go with JASP. Another tool is called JSP. This is also another free open source software that also you can look on it. So this two of my favorite tool in the case of the statistical analysis. If possible, you can go through it. So this is my website. I am going to share the link also. So this is my website. If you click the website in the case of the statistical resources, you are finding the lot of descriptive statistics, inferential statistics. So this material I not cover it. That's why I'm giving it now. My website name is called www.digigogi.info. So from this you can find my resources, digigogi.info. So this is my website. From this, if you go to my homepage, the homepage of my site, you are finding the headings like inference statistics or research. So you can, if you like to go with the statistics, you can go with the statistic part. If you like to go with the research, particularly if you like to go with extended research, you can go with the research area. So here I'm giving the lot of materials. These are the materials prepared by myself only. Sometimes maybe helping you. Kindly check this site, please. So I'm sharing the link also. So this particular site having my entire biography also. If you click the about me, you can find out my website address. Mini Kumar Madam, you can find my website address, my qualifications. Everything is available. Okay. So all my personal details also available in the same website. Yes.
Any participants have any doubts? Please ask, sir. If nobody having doubts, we can end up with this session. Sir, can I?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, okay, ma'am. Please, please.
That was a wonderful session, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Sir, I, on behalf of S.V.T.B College, Sri Krishnapuram, I would like to thank Dr. Thiyagu for taking out his time from his busy schedule and enlightening us with knowledge in research design. This session was really truly a worthy one, sir. Sir, you really motivated us to gain more and more knowledge, and we will wait for some more session like this for improving our knowledge and ourselves, sir. And a special thanks for the memes and gifs that you provide in between the session. Thank you so much, sir. It makes us lively. So once again, thank you, sir. And I also thank our principal, HOD, and also the coordinator of Strike Component 1 for giving a chance to conduct such a program. Thank you. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the participants who gathered here for the program. Once again, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So thank you all. Bye. So I'm going to leave the meeting now. Okay. Can I leave the meeting now?
Next